Hello, today we're going to be realizing the floor of natural sciences, but first, let's go over the decks. I have Nikolite Oops All Enablers with Graze the Grass, Multi-Slash, Bulky Impact, Quick Suppression, Will of the City and Prescript, Emotional Turbulence, Battle Command, and Concentration. And for passives, I have Bionic Charge Synchronized Hull and Maximum Crash from Maxime's page, and Health Hauler from Lila's page. Next, I have Xiao with Unlock, Graze the Grass, Multi-Slash, Fire Dragon Slash, Will of the City and Prescript, Emotional Turbulence, Fervent Emotions, and Raging Storm Love. And for passives, I have Locked Potential from the Index Proselytes, or Proxies that is to say, Volatile Passion from Unstable Crying Children, and Health Hauler again from Lila. Next I have Yan, Unlock, Graze the Grass, Multi-Slash, Fire Dragon Slash, Will of the City, Repressed Flesh, Will of the Prescript, Emotional Turbulence, and Baleful Brand. For passives, Locked Potential from the Index Proxies, Fur from Leo Association, and Health Hauler from Lila. Esther, very similar deck to Yan's, except Castigation's deck Baleful Brand. And for passives, I have Fervor from Leo, Threefold Tenacity from Callow, Keeping in Stride from Zwei Fixers, and Electric Shock from Brotherhood of Iron. And finally, I have Myo with Graze the Grass, 3 Concentrated Fire, Savage Mode, 3 Will of the City, and Emotional Turbulence. And for passives, have Fervor from Leo, Wedge from Wedge, and Health Hauler from Lila. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, so first phase against In the Name of Love and Hate. Very similar to the Abnormality fight, as you might expect. The idea is we're going to try and kill Roland in like 2 scenes or thereabouts. And so we have Arcana Beats that marks the target. This is the same as in the regular fight, where it'll make all of their status resistances weak, and then it'll target them, and it'll have some hysteria stuff to do with them, but it doesn't particularly matter. With Love, 5 to 10 pierce, and then 2 6 to 8 blocks. Just, well, since all of these pages are ranged, or single die melee, just having strong ones is important, but if not, then a block die will work just fine on one. In the Name of Justice, 5 to 8, 4 to 8, and it gives 5 power if the attack is one-sided. This one's not super hard to beat as long as you're clashing with it. If it's free hitting, then it's going to hurt a lot though. So I've found that I kind of like to use Fervent Emotions on our Arcana Beats and just have Xiao be marked. I'm not entirely sure why, probably doesn't really matter, but we're going to try and kill him in 2 scenes. So here we're just going to try and weaken him, and then next scene we're going to nuke him down. If you're worried that you won't kill him, then I would avoid using all your pages, because there's a pretty strong chance that he'll transform in that case. Alright, let's see. In the Name of Love and Justice, 3 to 7, 4 to 8, 5 to 14. But for each clash, the first die loses, the last die will get -3 power. But if the last die does hit, then it'll inflict the 3 binds and get 2 strength next scene, and more of the same. So, as you can see, the screen is basically entirely pink, which means that Roland is very close to transforming. And it doesn't matter if he's staggered or not, he'll always transform and recover his stagger and HP. But he's fairly low, so, well, don't have the light, so this person will be not very useful. But I think we'll be fine, and I'll try and nuke him down now. Alright, there we go. And now we're fighting Current of the Azure Forest with Blind Rage assisting us. I'm pretty sure this is identical to the Abnormality fight, so it's the exact same thing, except we have emo levels here. I like leading with Raging Storm Love, but other than that, it's identical, and so don't have too much to say. Crunch, you know, fairly non-threatening, but if there's strengthened endurance going on, it could be annoying with the evade die. Crackle, even less so. Kindly make way, you know, just 2 cost value pages of 3 cost bombs. You can ignore it. And then all these ones. And then we'll see what happens here. Kill them, and then nuke the Hermit down. Alright, for Abnormality pages, Love is pretty good, just because it gives you a lot of sustain. I think in this case, well, let's see. Yeah, I think I'll take Love. You could also consider taking Blades Wed by Teardrops and putting it on your Mio if you're running her, just because there's a lot of Pierce dice. But in this case, I'll just take Love, and I'll put on my Xiao, because she's pretty strong right now. Alright, so here we go, mass attack, you know, 2 cost value pages should be able to beat it, and try and kill all of these Hermit stabs this scene, and then we can kill the Hermit next scene. Alright, excuse me, and here I think I will end up, yeah, I'll skip it and just take Justice. Blessing is also alright, but I don't really need it since I have a lot of sustain already, and I don't think I'm gonna die, so Justice just makes me clear a little faster. Now we're here. So since the Hermit only has 14 stagger resistance, we can kill her pretty easily. And then we can move on to the next phase. Alright, now we're against the Sword Sharpens with Tears, and so here we're going to try and kill the sword that has Tears on the first scene, and then we'll be able to one cycle it. So first, the other ones, whether Pride through to 8 through to 7, Pierce, doesn't really matter. You can just use your hanging defensive dice or counter die if you have it, or you could just ignore it entirely. Another Weather Pride. And then here we have Sword Laced with Grief, 3 to 10 evade, and then 4 to 8, 4 to 9 pierce. That deals percent max HP damage, ignoring resistances. And then Sword Sharpened with Tears, 5 to 10, that has that same text, and then 2, 4 to 6 blocks. So for Sword Laced with Grief, the evade is pretty powerful, and so probably best to just have a block or evade on one, and then beat it with the other ones. And then this one, block on 1, 5 to 10 is somewhat hard to beat, but not too difficult. And so since the sword with Tears is fatal to pierce and nothing else, we're going to be relying on our Will of the Prescripts will be good. Concentrated Fires as well. And, you know, Grace Grass, all that. And then the rest will just be sustain and such. Alright, let's see. None of these are like super exciting. I think Intemperance is the best one. Companion's a little too inconsistent for me, and I'm a little stupid, so I have trouble triggering it. And Endurance doesn't matter, so Intemperance it is. And I'll put it on Shao because why not? Alright, here we go. Heart Piercing Sword is a 5 to 10 pierce that has the percent max HP damage thing. So I like to use Castigation on it, so it'll roll 1, and then I'll win. Heart Tearing Sword, 47, 46, with the same text. For this one, Fervent Emotions is good, but you could also use Concentrated Fire, Baleful Brand, I guess. And the last one, 37, 36, 2 to 5 blunts. For this one, really any 2-cost value, 3-cost bomb, or just anything with a strong 1 will do. I think in this case I'll just use Baleful Brand. If I can click it, that is. Alright. And then for the rest of these, just like sustain, I guess. Although I do believe that once they pierce roll-ins, then you can't hit them anymore, but I'm not entirely sure. I forget. So I guess I'll just use the prescript if it matters. Doesn't really, so whatever. Alright, and now roll-ins will be staggered with 90 HP, so here is where you just want to prepare for the next phase by just using your regeneration stuff, and then you'll probably kill them in only a few pages, so no need to go crazy with bomb pages. Alright, now we have Gold Rush. So this one is also pretty easy. You can probably kill them in a couple scenes and then move on to the next phase of it where it's the King of Greed. So for Happiness, 3 to 9, 4 to 8, blunt with a 3 to 5 block counter die. This is just like a standard bread and butter page. Anything really, just value pages, bombs, whatever. Ecstasy of Triumph, 3 to 9, 4 to 8, 4 to 7. But you really want to win the first die, or else you'll probably lose the second die, which will destroy the third die. And if the third die hits, then roll-ins will get 2 strength. So definitely want to be able to win all 3 of these. And then Overwhelming Luster, 3 to 7, and then a 6 to 12 that breaks the speed die. Something that beats a 6 to 12 is sometimes hard to come by, but not always, especially with strength stacking. So that's that, and then a lot of free hitting. Make sure that you're using like pages that can clash well first, so that it can break through the counter die without somehow losing to them. And then, yeah, pretty straightforward. Alright, here I actually like taking Greed because, well, I'm greedy, but again, the other 2 are just fine, and I'll stack it on the Shao. Alright, so now we have the King of Greed phase, and so we'll have some new pages. Consuming Desire, 4 to 8, 5 to 9, 4 to 7. But on Clash lose the first for the first 2 die, the last die will get +2 power, so it'll become up to an 8 to 11, which is fairly threatening, but with a card with a block on 3, it'll still be pretty manageable. Fixation 3 to 7 that on Clash lose gives the next die 2 power, and then a 7 to 13, which is actually a 9 to 15, that will inflict 7 bleed and make Roland gain 2 strength. And then Audacity 5 to 9 destroys all dice on the target's page, so something with a strong 1 will be very good here. And then 3 to 8, 3 to 7, that inflicts some bleed and recovers some HP. So overall the rolls still aren't too crazy high, and so we'll be able to take them out before we can even see the main mechanic, hopefully. Alright, so here you have Hunger, I think it's the last page, 3 to 8, 4 to 8, it's just the equivalent of the other bread and butter page from the first part of this phase. So, just more of the same. Hopefully we can kill this scene, it seems pretty doable, especially if we can just nuke them down with all our strongest pages, because we're all full light pretty much. But if not, then we'll have the special mechanic, which isn't too hard to deal with, and I'll talk about it if we get there. Alright, there we go, and here we have the final phase. This one's more of a gimmick phase slash victory lap. So there will be 4 petrified statues, they all have 10 HP, and we'll have Nihil here, who's casting Will of Nihil, which is a 15 to 15 mass summation. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to have all of your librarians except for 1 take the forms of the magical girls. I like to just have like top left be top left, top right be top right, etc. But you can do it however you want. And then you'll have, if everyone's alive, you'll have 1 librarian who just sits there being useless pretty much. But they can contribute a little bit, and I'll talk a bit more about their mechanics when we get there. Alright, so now we'll have our librarians take form of the magical girls, and Nihil will start in the greed phase, and so that'll focus on the King of Greed. And so Hunger 3 to 8, 4 to 7, best counter is probably for happiness. It looks equivalent, but because we have hope on everyone, we'll have a lot of strength and endurance stacked on them. So it won't matter too much. If not, then you can also just mitigate with Sparkling Strike's block dice. Audacity, Ecstasy of Triumph is good. Consume Desire, Sparkling Strike will deal with it nicely. And Fixation, again Sparkling Strike is good, but I'd say this one is probably the most important to clash into, just because the strength is annoying. Yeah, so 4 dice, 4 dice. Alright, so now we have the Road of Gold, but all of our allies will have a Fragment of Bliss, and so we just use that to clash into the mass attack, and then from there it's just the same stuff for another scene, and then I believe we'll move on to the next. Alright, so now move into the Queen of Hatreds phase. So Hatred 7 to 12 marks the target. Honestly, I just use Arcana beats against it just because it's funny, but I mean, maybe it is the best. I think it's the highest rolling single target thing. So Arcana beats into Hatred in the name of Love and Hatred. Since it's 2 offensive dice and then a block die, we can use in the name of Justice. But again, if we stack hopes, then any of them will work. And then another one of those. I believe there's a couple other pages that we'll see, but yeah. I also forgot to mention, but the Magical Girl of Justice or Knife of Despairs pages will deal % max HP damage. And so if it hits, it'll deal 10 damage, so it's just nice to use these two and just get some extra damage in during the off phases, but using hope is more important. Alright. So Light of Hatred 3 to 7, then a 6 to 12 that recovers HP equal to the roll's value. I guess this would be the time to use the Name of Justice plus Hope stacking. And then we'll just keep doing that, and then we'll move on to the next phase soon enough. I believe it's once you can cast Arcana Slave for free. Yeah, okay. So that, stack hopes, battle command if you have it on your Nikolai and you haven't transformed it into a magical girl. But if not, then just keep doing hope and it'll work out. Alright, so here we go, free Arcana Slave. And I guess we can put it on here. And then just use all the hopes that we can. And then just move on to the next phase, I guess. Alright, now we'll be in the Knife of Despairs phase. So we just have Heart Tearing, Heart Piercing, and Heart Breaking Sword. And then I guess we can just clash with the equivalent sword. So single pierce into single pierce, double slash into double slash, and then triple blunt into triple blunt. And then use hopes and battle commands, maybe, maybe not. And we can clash into these ones normally, I believe. And so we can just do that, and it'll be good. Alright. He's not casting anything. I'm not entirely sure why, but I see. So I guess we can just deal damage to them, maybe kill the swords, but no, I've like tuned out at this point and just autopilot. Can use our last mass attack here, why not? Just for funsies. And yeah. Alright, and now we'll be in the last phase, and this will be the Servant of Wrath. So, 38, 37, blunt counter dice that inflict erosion. Ack deals 10 damage to self and gets 2 strength, then 39, 37, 37, and Gerher 48, 48. So again, clashing into equivalents, so Ack into if I can be of help, and Gerher into I'll protect my friend. And then counter dice don't particularly matter. I guess you could throw a mass attack on there because it doesn't roll against masses. And then hopes if you got it. Battle command's also nice. But yeah, that's pretty much the entire thing. Using the knight to get a bit of extra cheese damage in as well. Alright, so a bit of a longer one, especially the last phase. It's very deep on the mechanics, but overall nothing is extremely difficult. There's no real things I have to think about, so yeah, that's the fight. After realizing the floor of natural sciences, you'll get access to these abnormality pages. Magical Girls is a really interesting page. At the start of the scene, the page with the highest cost in the selected librarian's hands will be marked with a magical symbol. After losing 4 clashes with marked pages, the selected librarian will gain 5 protection each scene and become immune to status ailments for the rest of the reception. Additionally, after triggering the effect, twice per scene when getting hit, the selected librarian will inflict 1 erosion and 1 fragile to the attacker next scene. This is a catch-up page. Once you've activated the effect, you'll become very tanky, so if you're losing, this one might bring you back into the fight. Void is a very situational page. It adds a page, all returns to Void, to hand, which is a 3 cost that on use exhausts all pages from the user's hand and gives them strength and endurance each scene equal to the number of pages exhausted this way. This page is also included in the librarian's hand at the start of subsequent acts. This page has some pretty solid synergy with ammunition in my opinion. Considering you get upwards of 10 ammo in your hand, you'll be able to exhaust a ton of pages without affecting your deck too much. The last page is Nyx. This is what we've been building towards for this entire floor. This page does nothing unless the selected librarian has hate, despair, greed, and wrath, but if you manage to assemble Exodia, you'll be blessed with great powers. That is, all of the characters will be inflicted with 5 bind, feeble, and disarm, and all other abnormality pages lose their downsides. So hate loses the extra stagger damage, only the selected librarian will be able to activate greed, and most importantly, you'll be able to control the librarian afflicted with wrath once more. If you manage to get all 5 pieces together, then you'll probably win the reception. Additionally, you'll get access to these 5 ego pages. In the Name of Love and Hate is a 5-cost mass summation that rolls 22 to 33. This is just a solid mass attack, no effects, just pure damage. The Sword Sharpened with Tears is a 4-cost ranged page with 2 pierce dice that roll 6 to 10, 10 to 18. Additionally, on hit, both dice will seal a speed dive the target next scene. This page can really mess with the opponent as the dice are quite likely to win and seal a dice, but I'm a little sad that it doesn't deal percent HP damage. Gold Rush is a 5-cost mass individual that rolls 5 to 15. Additionally, on hit, the user restores 1 light and gains 1 strength next scene. Under ideal circumstances, this can effectively cost 0 and give 5 strength next scene, but more likely you'll end up spending a net of 2 or 3 light and getting 2 or 3 strength, which is still quite solid. Blind Rage is a 4-cost mass individual that rolls 9 to 15, 9 to 15, 9 to 15. The downside is that it targets all other characters, including your other librarians. If you don't have other allies, then this is great. Otherwise, it's a bit risky, but since you'll be able to plan around it, it's quite good. Finally, Nihil is a 3-cost mass summation that rolls 6 to 16. Additionally, if there are no pages in the librarian's hands-on use, all enemies get inflicted with 4 feeble, disarm, bind, and paralysis this scene and next scene. If you can trigger the effect, then this page is extremely strong, but otherwise it deals fairly low damage. I personally like Gold Rush and In the Name of Love and Hate the most. Blind range is really strong if you're already winning or about to lose, and Nihil is great if you're in an even state, where the damage from blind rage might backfire. In the next video, we'll be finishing the last reception and start of the city. I'll see you soon, and as always, thank you for watching.